It's a blessing to have you with us here on this Wednesday of the Word of Encouragement. And today I'd like to go to the book of Acts. It's always exciting to go to this book as we see how God worked in the early church and how he focused on those local churches and was able to advance in a very wicked world, a one world government, worse than we can even imagine, and able to advance in that the work of God. Churches are being formed all over the known world. God was able to do great things when people were willing to trust him and they were standing upon the truth. And so it's very encouraging. It's very instructive to read the book of Acts. And when you get to the end of the book of Acts, which is really only the beginning of the church age, but we get to the end of the book of Acts, we're focusing on the Apostle Paul, and he is caught in a storm there on the Mediterranean Sea. He had warned them about the storm coming, and yet they did not to listen to him, but that made a difference in how they would respond to him later on. But the Lord was good in the midst of that storm, and what should have been or could have been the end of Paul and the end of the story of his life. But we read in verse 23, as he's giving his testimony to the leadership on that ship, he says, he's telling them there won't be any loss, and he says in verse 23, "For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee." Now, God gives him his word. He gives him very specifically his word regarding what was going to happen on that voyage. And in the midst of what was going on, it seemed like what God was saying was contrary to the human circumstances. But Paul, as he always did, he believed God. And his testimony is what I want you to see in verse 25. "Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall be even as it was told me." What a lesson here. Nothing about the circumstances looked good. He was in the hold of the iron grip of Rome, a prisoner going to the Caesar, and that itself was a scary thing. And then there was a physical storm that clearly that ship could not withstand, and they were in deep trouble. But God said very clearly, you're going to be brought before Caesar, and you are going to be protected. And he says very clearly to all those that were leading that ship, "Sirs, you need to be of good cheer like I am, because I believe God. I believe that it shall be even as he told me." Now, here's the point I want to make. God has told us about the future. He's told us about what's going to happen. A lot of what we're seeing is preparation for what will occur during the tribulation. And we see men waxing worse and worse. We're seeing it is like it was before the days of Noah. And the Bible is true. And the Bible tells us that God will be with us until the end. Jesus will be with us, and that his power will be upon us, and that we can trust him. And so we, like the Apostle Paul, need to be able to think right when it comes to all that's going on. Be of good cheer. Be encouraged, because you believe God. It will be just like God said it's going to happen. We know the beginning from the end, and Christians there's no excuse for us to live in depression and discouragement when it comes to what's going on today. Be of good cheer. It will be as God says it will be. He will take care of us. The church will continue to stay powerful spiritually. God will be with us until the end of the age, and then all that he said in prophecy will happen, and we can be encouraged. Let's be of great encouragement in these days.